Financial experts agree that everyone should have an emergency fund, aka your rainy day fund. But how much do you need? Stick around and let's find out. Hey everyone, welcome to Dollar for Dollar. My name is Heather. Today we're going to unpack emergency funds. Why do you even need them and how much should you actually have? Well, let's start with the basics. Why you need an emergency fund. Why? Because life happens, okay? Life is bound to throw things your way that you were not expecting. And I'm sure as we all sit here, we can think of at least one time where we were given some sort of situation or something happened where we just couldn't see it coming, okay? Life is unpredictable. We're not made into computers. So with that, you need to be prepared for when life happens, okay? Those unexpected things. Now, sometimes they can be really small things that don't really make a huge impact, and sometimes it can be really big. It could mean like the loss of an income, for example. So you need to be prepared. Now, there has been a recommendation for a long time that you should have 3 to 6 months of expenses in your emergency fund. Now, why is that? Well, again, life happens, and sometimes it's so big that you actually lose income. And if that were to happen to you today, what would you do? Would you be able to make it? Ask yourself that right now. Do you even have an emergency fund currently? So if you don't, that's okay. We're going to get started, and I'm going to tell you exactly how much you need and how you can calculate that. So let's start with just this simple, basic fact. In an emergency, you are going to make some cuts, right? So if you lose your job tomorrow, you're not going to be going out to eat. You're not going to be spending time at the mall buying things you don't need, okay? You're going to have to make some serious sacrifices, right? So you're going to cut back to the minimum. And that's how we're going to figure out what you need in an emergency. So here are the things I want you to calculate. So get a pen, get a paper, maybe write this down, put it in your phone. You can do it on the computer, whatever makes sense for you. But here's some basic things I want you to write down and calculate. We're going to start with housing. How much do you spend every month on housing? This is your rent or your mortgage. And I want you to also factor in either rental insurance if you have it and your homeowner's insurance if you have that too. Any fees that you pay in your mortgage, whether it's HOA fees, maybe your insurance, maybe you're also paying taxes at the same time. Put all of that in there, okay? That's a necessity. So write down how much you pay in housing each month. That's number one. Number two, obviously when you live somewhere, you have to have some lights, some water, power, right? So you're going to calculate utilities. So that's electricity, your water bill, and gas if that applies to you. Maybe your, electric company rolls it all into one bundle. That's fine. Write that down. And if not, just look at all those last statements you had, and it can fluctuate a little bit, but try to get pretty close. And I would be rather conservative, so I would go on the higher end of the scale to what you normally pay. Now, number three, transportation. Whether it's public transportation or your car, gotta look at a few things here. If you have a car, you need to know how much you're spending monthly on gas and on car insurance. Hopefully you don't have a car payment, but if you do have a car payment, you definitely want to put that down here as well. And if you're spending money on public transportation, you should know roughly what you spend on public transportation every single month. So go ahead and jot that down too. And then the next one, your phone bill. If you have a family of 4, jot down what that looks like. If it's just you, just jot down what that looks like. Now again, in an emergency, ideally you're going to be contacting the phone company and making some adjustments to your plan. But for right now, just write down what that would be. And the next one is food. Obviously, we need to eat, right? It's extremely important. Now, you're not going to be going out in an extreme situation, right? Like if we lost income, we're not going out. But calculate what you spend every single month on your food bill, all right? So groceries. Jot down what that grocery bill would look like as your food. And then the next one is insurance. Now, we've already talked about car insurance and your, rental insurance or homeowner's insurance, but this one's your health insurance, okay? Health is extremely important. We don't want to forget that in the crisis, okay? So you still need to have medical care if something were to happen to you or a loved one. So write down what you're spending monthly on health insurance. And then lastly, going into health prescriptions. If you have any sort of monthly, daily prescriptions that you are taking currently, write down what that costs you. Maybe they're free, maybe you pay a little bit out of pocket. Either way, jot that down because your health is extremely important. Now you're going to take all of those numbers and you're going to add them up. And that is 1 month's worth of an emergency fund, okay? That's 1 month right there. Now you're saying to yourself, okay, so I figured out baseline what I need for 1 month. But how do I know if I'm at the 3-month range or I should be at the 6-month range? I'm glad you asked. So I'm going to give you a very simple breakdown of where you should be depending on your unique situation. And again, these things can fluctuate with time, right? Maybe you're single now, but you will be getting married in the future, So things can change, but we're going to look at where you are currently today. If you are single and you have a consistent, steady income, all right, every single month, very predictable, 3 months emergency fund, all right? So take that 1 month we just calculated, multiply by 3. Now you know exactly what you should have in an emergency fund. Now, if you're single and maybe you are in sales or you work on commission of some kind, if you have inconsistent pay, I want you to save 6 months worth of expenses. So take that number we calculated, your 1 month, multiply by 6. Now, if you're married and you both work outside the home and you both have consistent, steady incomes, all right, in a 2-income home, you only need 3 months of emergency expenses saved, all right? 3 months. So jot that number down. But if you're married and maybe only one of you is working outside the home and the other one's maybe staying home, you need 6 months, all right? Have 6 months saved in your emergency fund. And lastly, if you are married and maybe both of you are working, but one of you has inconsistent pay, it kind of fluctuates here and there, 5 to 6 months. There's a little bit of leniency I give there because in my mind, hopefully, with one person working, you're going to make some cuts, right, on the other pieces where you can. You're not going to eat out anymore. You're going to cut back on phone bills and things, cable, all that sort of stuff. And then the other person will obviously actively be looking for a job in the meantime. So it shouldn't be stressful at the end of the day, but having 5 to 6 months cushion, you can fall anywhere in between that. I think that would be totally acceptable. Now remember, you've gone through the trouble of calculating what you need to save for an emergency, so don't just go run and spend it the second you have it. This is only for an emergency. Absolute needs, not a want. Your family decides at Christmas that in 3 months they should all go up to, Canada and, go see bears or something. That's not an emergency, okay? You haven't been saving for that vacation, then you need to start saving. But don't tap into an emergency fund for that, okay? It is only for those unexpected. If a car breaks down and you have no other way to get to work and you need to maybe rent a car for 2 weeks, that's an emergency. But you wanting a new car, that's not an emergency, okay? So save up for those things that you can predict, and when life throws a lemon at you, throw back the emergency fund, okay? So hopefully this was really helpful for you. I know it was helpful actually, so give it a like because you enjoyed this video. Be sure to subscribe to the channel if you have not already. I talk more about personal finances, saving, investing, buying homes. So be sure to stay tuned for more content like this. And if you've never actually gone through the trouble of trying to save and put together a budget, that is crucial when you are looking to have an emergency fund. I have a couple of videos on that. I have an entire playlist, so I will put that here as well so you can check those videos out. Thank you so much for watching. I will catch you on the next video.